Welcome to Purpose for Life podcast. I'm your host, Suzanne Roberts. I'm author of It's Deeper Than That and founder of the Great Reconnection. Today, my co-pilot is the one and only Anne Santilli. Thank you for being here today, Anne.
Thanks for asking me.
I'm so glad to have you here. This is our Wisdom Wednesday. Now, I know that you might not be listening to this on a Wednesday, but it is our drop of jewels of wisdom that comes out every other week. And every other week, I will pull a card from the Great Reconnection Wisdom Deck, which I pulled one today. And then on the other weeks of Wisdom Wednesday, we'll read from the book It's Deeper Than That. So today, the card that got pulled, it's beautiful. If you are on YouTube, I will show it to you. Rest and be restored by your vital energy at the center of your being. And on the back, it says, you are invited to know rest as a state of being rather than an activity to do when you are tired. Resting in stillness provides access to the resource of your vital energy running inside of you at every moment. Through stillness, you have access to your self-renewing energy. Now is the time for you to increase your stillness, your resting state, and be resourced by the radiant energy within you. So I'm going to pick this apart a little bit because I think rest is such an interesting thing to talk about because it says here in the beginning, you're invited to know rest as a state of being rather than an activity to do when you are tired. So what does it mean to have rest as a state of being? For me, and then I'll ask you, Anne, for me, rest as a state of being is actually synonymous for me with stillness, or which is radiant. Stillness is alive and vibrant. It's not sedate. Rest is stillness at the center of my being and having access to the current of energy that's running inside of me through stillness. And from there, action can take place while I'm being resourced rather than running wild in the world, depleting myself. And so I want resting state to become a way of being and becoming rather than something to do when I'm tired. But what does it mean to you, Anne, to have rest as a state of being?
Well, I think sleep is for the body and rest is for the soul. And it starts with a calm nervous system and a more neutral mind to really be restful. Because I can be not doing anything, and if my brain is racing or I'm
Right.
in fight or flight, I'm not going to feel restful. And so it's only when I get that nourishment from connecting with that energy inside that I feel that kind of peaceful rest and energized at the same time.
Yes, because if you're actually resting, you become vital. And I
Right.
really appreciate what you said about the mind because we can physically be still and our mind is running wild or our nervous system is jacked up while we're watching TV. It seems like we
Right.
should be resting, but our nervous system is in vigilance or whatever, and we haven't really come down. So, resting, we can rest in action. And I think that's what we're saying. It's not about, physically not moving, it's about having access to the equanimity inside from the mind being more neutral and getting out of survival patterns of reactivity. I think this is such a strong reframe frame for most people, and also for people that are used to being rewarded for hustling and proving and exhausting themselves. So here it says resting in stillness provides access to the resource of your vital energy running inside of you at every moment. So we do know that from, if you've listened to this podcast, you know, and if you haven't, go back to the very beginning. The first one is called Currency. But our soul is a drop of the eternal ocean of love. And once energy moves in the physical world, it moves between poles. So our soul is a positive pole, and the negative pole is the body or the material world. And the soul is sending a current through form and returning to itself. And it does it best when the mind is neutral so that the soul current can run more freely. So once again, we're back to the mind again. When we can still the mind more, we can actually rest in stillness. And in that stillness, we then have access to that current of energy that's running pole to pole inside of us. Our heart can't beat without that current running inside of us. We're not breathing without it. And when we can slow down enough and slow that mind down and have stillness, we can begin to tune into that current that's inside that is running at every moment. And that is where our vital energy is. And that's why when you were talking before, stillness is vital. Rest is vital. Rest is not sedate. It actually, you get energized, not hyper, but vibrant or radiant through rest. I'm going to keep going and then I'll pull you in here. Through stillness, you have access to your self-renewing energy because that current is running all the time. So the renewal is inside of us. Now is the time for you to increase your stillness, your resting state, and be resourced by the radiant energy within you. And Annie, what does it mean to you to hear today? Annie, now is the time for you to increase your stillness, your resting state, and be resourced by the radiant energy within you.
I feel like I can get really distracted by busyness and by work. And what often suffers is the connection with me because I spend less time doing that. And if I keep in mind that it's a battery, it has to be recharged, right? I have to do things which revitalize that so that I can feel it more and so that I can connect with it more. And I have to rest more. Like I need to find that as a priority for myself so that I can feel that more deeply.
And why is that important to you to make it a priority?
Because I feel like I am my best self and I am my most authentic self when I am leading my life from a restful, radiant state.
And what makes you disconnect from, you said busyness, but what makes you disconnect from that authentic, restful state? And what's your longing to return to it?
Well, everything that isn't that disconnects me from it. You know, the stories that are in my head, the expectations
Mhm.
from the external world, numbing myself, like all of anything that isn't that is a
Mhm.
distraction from it, truthfully. And my longing is to increase the sustainability of my being able to be there longer, to recover faster, to return more frequently, because that feels like wholeness when
Mhm.
I'm there. And uh, that's what I'm longing for is to feel that wholeness without the expectations or the judgment or the whatever that comes externally into me. Um, so that would be what I'm longing for.
I love what you just said. We are already whole and holy, and we have to tune in to become aware of that which we already are. And I think listeners can relate to everything you said. It's any of us. And I also really appreciate what you said that this is an ongoing journey. And I'm going to invite our listeners to reconsider rest as a state of being to live from, as opposed to an activity to do when you're tired, and to find a way to discover the longing that each of our listeners has to be revitalized, to be resourced, because we all deserve it, you know? So that is our birthright. And to come home to our wholeness and our holiness and to know that we are radiant. We've been given this radiant life, and it's an honor to have this gift of life. And we disregard it pretty easily. And yet we have the opportunity to remember and return to that which is already given to us. So before we sign off today, Annie, any more words of wisdom for our listeners?
I think accept the challenge of making yourself as much as you can be.
In a
There's
resting
always
state of
more.
being. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
yep. It's a deeper than that. I think
it
there's a
is deeper
book,
than that.
there's a book called that.
Yes.
It's deeper than
Uh,
that.
I think I got that book. Yes.
Good. All righty. Thank you, all listeners, for being with us here today on Wisdom Wednesday. And once again, this is Purpose for Life podcast. I'm your host, Suzanne Roberts, author of It's Deeper Than That, in case you haven't heard that already in this podcast, and founder of the Great Reconnection. And thank you all for joining us and listening today.